Thank you for joining us today. My name is Brock Chavis. I serve the United Pentecostal Church as the Director of Multicultural Ministries. My guest today is Pastor Ernest Martinez. I'm very thankful to have him here with us in the UPCI Media Center. And we are videoing today a short recording in a series that we're calling Multicultural Stories. Pastor Martinez is the pastor of Landmark Family Church in Maryland Heights, Missouri. He is an at-large representative of the Multicultural Ministries Executive Administrative Committee. He is the camp meeting coordinator for Missouri District and also a sectional representative for the Missouri District North American Missions Team. He and his wife have been in this community for quite some time now. His wife is well known in the area. She is the founder and creator of the Gingerbraid. Her name is Nicole, and Sister Martinez, her Gingerbraid company, provides modern clothing for ladies from teenage to adulthood, and she has a very thriving business, and many of our apostolic women are being blessed by that. Brother Martinez, I'm thankful to have you joining me today for this series. Welcome to this show.
Thank you, Brother Chavis. It's a privilege to be here, and I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today.
Thank you very much. Well, to give some of you who are watching a background, we're calling this series Multicultural Stories. A number of weeks ago, I felt impressed of the Lord that in the times that we're facing right now, we are seeing social unrest. We are seeing a lot of fear in the community dealing with COVID-19 and fear that's very much warranted, I would say. But we are in a time where the church, the people of God, we're having questions about how to address the matters of our society right now. I felt impressed of the Lord that in this time, perhaps hearing the voices of people from our fellowship could even be more helpful than seminars and teaching and training, which I'm a big advocate of. But I just felt the Lord really say to me, let's share the stories of people of the UPCI, people who are a part of our fellowship, hear their voices, hear their experiences, and most of all, hear their perspectives in times like these. So I'm very thankful to have Pastor Martinez with us today. And why don't we begin, Brother Martinez, just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and then just take some liberty and tell us your story.
Very good. I'm the oldest of 4 children, 43. I grew up in California. My dad pastored there. Dad started a church in the state of Washington, state of California. We started this church together here in Missouri, and now he pastors in Milwaukee. And I've, in addition to this, I'd started a daughter work in Illinois, a Spanish-speaking daughter work. So I have 3 siblings, and the reason I'm mentioning that's why it's so important, is the fact that we grew up in a very multicultural home, in the sense that growing up in the state of California, going to school with 40 plus cultures, trying different foods, our friends, it was just very natural, very normal for us to have friends of different nationalities. That's how our parents taught us. We did speak English in the home, but we also spoke Spanish. And then, because of that, that's sort of what has molded me into the person I am today. I am married to Nicole. We've been married for over 16 years. We've got 3 children. And we do love St. Louis because of the opportunity. As I mentioned, I grew up in a preacher's home and a pastor's home, and so I am doing what God called me to do and God created me to do, and that is to lead in these times. And God has been very good to us. There have always been challenges growing up in a pastor's home, but it's been worth it. Ended up in St. Louis. Dad moved to St. Louis in 2000 to translate all of the Word of Flame materials, the Sunday school materials, into Spanish. He was the editor for that, working alongside Brother Richard Davis and Brother P.D. Buford. He did that in 2000, and so shortly after that, I decided to move here, and that's how we ended up here. Being a bilingual person, I have always found a career being able to use my language, and it's given me a great perspective. It's built a bridge for me. I've been able to work in between different cultures because of the language, and trying to understand people's perspective. And so naturally it's been part of the ministry. I can preach in both languages. I've interpreted. I can do all that. As far as my story, got into the ministry at a young age, but didn't really spread my wings until I was about 22. And I took my first role at a church, learned a lot of things, and then after that, of course, going to Illinois and then coming back here. So we love the ministry, we love the opportunity, and we love what the United Pentecostal Church is doing. I'm grateful that, the United Pentecostal Church is making an effort to reach everybody, other cultures. I'm grateful for that. I'm very, very proud of that. If you could be proud as a Christian, I'm grateful for that vision, and I do believe that is the key to our growth as a movement, and especially as this organization. When I think about where God has brought me from, truly I'm grateful for the opportunity. But God has lifted up us for this moment, for this time. We are experiencing hunger from people that have come from other parts of the world to our country. We are missionaries within our own borders. And so I'm grateful for that. That's a long answer, and I told you I'd be giving you a long answer, so I'm sure more will come out after that.
That's very good. Now, in my previous discussions with you and anybody who knows you, they're going to find very quickly that you have a passion for the city of St. Louis.
Yes.
And of course, you pastor in Maryland Heights, which is very close to the St. Louis boundary. Many people would consider it St. Louis area. Of course, it is. But tell us a little bit about that. Why you feel so passionate about the city of St. Louis, and just share your thoughts on that.
I'm not a St. Louis native. Never thought I'd live here, but here we are. St. Louis is a city with a great need, the city of St. Louis. And right now we are in the county. So in the St. Louis metro area, you have the city of St. Louis, which is the largest city, and then the St. Louis County wraps around it, and then beyond that you have St. Charles County, and you have Jefferson County, and there's some other counties, Lincoln County and others that are close by. So the city is sort of on its own next to the Mississippi River. There's a lot of history in the city. The World's Fair was here in the early 1900s. There's a lot of Pentecostal history. Of course, the merger was done here, but there have been great revivals even before the merger. There have been great moves of God in the city, and then it's poured out into the county. And so a lot of the churches that are in the county came because of something that happened in the city. So there's great history in the city. And more than that, there's a great need. You've got so many cultures. We have the second largest Bosnian population in the world.
Wow.
We have a very growing Ethiopian population. There is a small but growing Somalian population. The Burmese, it's a small population, but it's still growing. The largest minority population, I guess, would be the Hispanics. I've seen numbers anywhere from 100,000 to 200,000 within that area. So there's just a lot of opportunity. St. Louis has its challenges. What it's famous for crime. Usually it's number one as crime and murder capital per capita. So, a lot of people are intimidated by that. That's this very small portion of the city, but the city has got a lot of history, beautiful buildings, beautiful neighborhoods, but it's a city that unfortunately has been hurt. It's a wounded city. And so I feel a great burden. I believe what God is doing with us now is to set us up so that we can reach into the city. He's preparing us. He's creating a beachhead. He's creating a starting point. St. Louis is also the third fastest growing immigrant city in the nation. Now, I never would have thought that. Right. The city of St. Louis. And it's really a different world, because when you leave the county of St. Louis, it's not like the city of St. Louis. When you go to St. Charles County, the rest of the metro area, it's so different. So within the metro area, you've got all diversity in between communities and then diversity in between cultures. And so there's almost like a Macedonian call, I believe, that is reaching. And my prayer is that the Lord would help us to reach that city. We will reach that city in my lifetime.
Amen.
It's going to happen. And then, of course, we've just got, St. Louis is the #1 destination for cheapskates. That means that you can have a vacation in St. Louis for really cheap. You can go to the zoo for free. All the museums are free.
Right.
You've got Six Flags, which is relatively cheap for a Six Flags. Great hotels, great food. We've got some of the best Asian food in the world right here. I grew up close to San Francisco, so I love Chinese food, and just a great opportunity. It's an untapped resource of so much blessing. NYC was here last year, and it moved the city of St. Louis. The city of St. Louis has not been the same since. And our churches on the outlying areas have benefited from that. But there is a great need, and I'm a huge fan of the city of St. Louis. And I am praying that God would not only send me, but that He would bring others so we can work together and we can reach the community.
You were living in St. Louis and I believe already pastoring during the time of incidents that happened here that reached national attention. Michael Brown, and then we had protests that took place for a long time after that. And then several years later, there was a judge who had delayed making a decision and hoping that the timing would be better for the health of the city. And when that decision was made, this is even during the time when I had moved to St. Louis, and I observed some of this personally. The declaration was made for 100 days of protest in St. Louis. I actually encountered those protests on several occasions. So I'm setting up this question to ask you, pastoring in this community during this time, what do you think the impact of all of this has been on the local area, and what would you say the experience has been, and what has it cultivated in you as a man of God with a burden in this city to address?
That's we have lived in interesting times. Ferguson is a very nice community.
It is.
There was a bad incident that happened on one street, but Ferguson's very safe, very nice community, very old, a lot of neat little local restaurants and businesses. So sad to see that happen. And the case you're referring to, I believe, was Stockley. I think it was the name of the police officer that decision was made. So, as I mentioned earlier, St. Louis is a wounded city. There are a lot of great wounds for different reasons. Racism is, whether you like it or not, is alive. It's around. We can't deny it. And so St. Louis has fallen victim to that many times. There's a lot of polarization. We won't deny that. It's historic. It's happened. It's in the books. So there are wounds that need to be healed. And so what happened in Ferguson reopened that wound. And what happened a couple years later with the judge's decision reopened that wound. I have encountered that when I have reached out to different cultures, and I do consistently, friends, family, ministry, we keep the conversation going. I've encountered that people are afraid to express themselves for the fear of being misunderstood. I'm talking about anybody. When I talk to my African American friends, and I'm teaching a Bible study to two pastors right now that are African American, we talk about it. And it seems like they're also very apprehensive to discuss it. And I don't know if it's because they feel like there's no solution. So I think these situations have presented a great opportunity for people like me who are not from here. I am from the outside, and so I have fresh ears. I have a fresh mind. I don't have history that is molding my perspective. Truly, I'm a clean slate, and so people feel safe discussing it with me. because they feel that I'm not coming from a place of judgment. So if there's anything good that has come out of that, it is the recognition that there's a problem, and there is, and also the openness to come up with a solution. I believe the church is a solution. I know that.
Amen.
Whether I believe that or not, it doesn't really matter. The church is a solution. And so what I've encountered is people want to talk about it, and they want to know if I care enough to at least listen to them. And so what I've encountered is doors have opened. People are hurting. They're looking for someone to stand up and say, we're going to lead you to peace. We're going to lead you to the solution. And yes, the church is a solution. But even in St. Louis, you have churches that exist based on history, color of skin, etc. And so we've got to bridge the gap. So I think because of what's happened in Ferguson and with this other case, that people are feeling the urgency. They're looking for help, and sometimes people may react differently than they should, but it's just a sign of what's there. But I would say, from my experience, for the most part, people want answers. And so God has given me grace in the fact that I'm able to have these conversations. They know that I believe what I say. They know I'm just not giving them a line. They know they're loved. And when I say they, I'm not talking about a specific group of people. I'm just saying humans in general. But God has given us a platform to reach them because of Ferguson and because of the Stockley case. And so it's not going to happen overnight, but I will tell you that the church, we are the solution. It's not the police, it's not the government, it's not more laws, it's us, the representatives of Jesus Christ. If we are true Christians, then we're going to reach out to everybody. And this is a great opportunity to reach out to them for no other reason than to love them, not to fill up our buildings. They see right through that. If they think you're just inviting them because you want to meet a quota or you want to fill up your buildings, they smell it. And when I say they, it doesn't matter if it's Spanish or Asian or African American, you name it. If they think that there's not a true sense of love for them or interest to know more about them, they're going to shut us off. And so we need to reach, and we need to be peacemakers and be a place that they feel safe. And I think that's what's happening, is they're feeling safe, and they know that they're loved. And that's the great opportunity we have.
Well, that leads into a great question I have. Those watching, many people watching this won't know you. They may are just encountering you for the first time, even in our fellowship. People will watch this from all over the United States and Canada, probably even beyond that. And they may not know you, but they've learned so far that you are a Hispanic man and you're a pastor of a church in this community. What they won't know, and sometimes what expectations would be, is that you're pastoring and you're growing a Spanish church. But in reality, I've been to your church many times, and I find your church to be wildly multicultural. In fact, it's been my observation that there is no dominant or majority culture in your church. I've observed around 10 to 12 different cultures on about every service that I've been a part of in your local church. So I wonder if you would do this. Tell us a little bit about the breakdown of your church, and maybe share how the excitement of that experience, and then perhaps you could share some suggestions to pastors or local church leaders who want to have that thriving multicultural experience. Maybe share some of your thoughts and your perspectives on what it takes to achieve that.
Well, yeah, we are blessed to have a church that is represented by the cultures within our community. And first of all, every church should reflect their community. And I realize some small towns, which is hard to believe, but there are those that may not have more than 2 or 3 cultures. They may have,
right.
It could be a white-only culture, but within the white culture, there are subcultures. There are financial. There's socioeconomic. So our church must reflect our community. Number one. In a community where there are multiple cultures, every culture, I used to say every culture should feel welcomed. I've changed it. Every culture should feel wanted, because you can be welcomed and not wanted. Mm-hmm. But if you're wanted, you will be welcomed. And so that's just That's how I feel about it all. Landmark Family Church is very, very diverse. That's one of the reasons why we chose that West County area, the Maryland Heights area, the Creve Coeur area, Chesterfield. It's becoming more and more multicultural. Where our church building sits right now, across the street, I estimate there's probably 2,500 people from India. They speak Telugu. They come here to work. MasterCard, Citi, Wells Fargo, Edward Jones. We have corporate headquarters around here, and so they work in the IT field. And then you've got there are some people that are from Vietnam there, people that are from Taiwan. The reason I know is because I've knocked on their doors and we've engaged in conversation. There's quite a few Hispanics. There's Filipino. In our church right now, currently, we have representatives of the Asian community, which includes India, it includes Korea, it includes Myanmar, and then also, I guess you can include the Filipino. And then we have Spanish speakers, which include Mexico, Honduras, and Colombia. And then we have Anglos, and even within the white Anglos, within that culture, it is also very different. And then we have African American. We've got representatives of Native Americans, Venezuela. I think I might have mentioned 9 or 10 there. And then another culture that is multicultural in itself is we provide ASL interpreting every service.
Right.
And we even have an ASL, of course, pre-COVID, we had an ASL Bible study. They'd get together and they'd worship, and they would have a Bible study. There'd be a handful of them. So our vision is to grow that as well together.
Sure.
And then we have a Burmese group that meets on Sunday nights in another part, actually in the city of St. Louis. So within Landmark, you said it, there's 10, 12, possibly 13 cultures at a time that get together. And the reason it happens is that is the vision. We want everyone to feel wanted. We want
That's
everyone
so
to come. And so God has sent, you just used the word key, God has sent us key people to help us reach, because people are afraid. They want to go to a place where they feel like there is a future. Can I see myself here? Do I see myself? Do I see myself involved? Are there opportunities for me? And so what I have encountered, in recently at least, is that if I will create opportunities for people, God helps us do that, of course, people will want to be part of it. Right. They can see it. They can understand. They feel like there's a future. When people don't see a future, they may tolerate it for a while, but they're going to go to where there is a future. And so what I would advise pastors who want to do this, there's some easy steps. Number one, I'm a foodie, go find the food. Go to the restaurant. Yeah. If all you have is a Mexican restaurant in your small rural town, go there as much as possible. Meet the servers, meet the owners, ask them, how can we help? Right now with COVID, people are struggling. They have less tables in their restaurants than before. Give big tips. Order, have them cater. Tell them you're my favorite caterer. Make them feel like they're making a difference. Find out about their culture. How do you celebrate a birthday? How do you celebrate? In the Hispanic culture, we never did it, but in the first generation Hispanic culture, they celebrate when a young lady turns 15. We didn't do it because we're Americanized, and we didn't. But they do it. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal. Yeah. It's like a wedding. They buy the girl a dress, and they have family and friends. They have a church service, and they'll have all kinds of food and music. It's a big deal. So birthdays, special celebrations. I had somebody here a few years ago who was Indian come in and preach for us, and this person told us that in order to reach this community, at least a good starting point is just to find out about their celebrations. They like to celebrate. And so the truth is every culture likes to celebrate.
Sure.
So if you will make an effort to do what they like, eat their food, learn about them, ask questions. I know as a Hispanic that when someone makes an effort to learn some Spanish words, mm-hmm. they may not pronounce it right. People may laugh, but they're like, wow. Yeah. It's important enough for him and her to learn about me. And once you do that, you begin to build rapport. And in time, you will influence them. I have a friend right now who is working with restaurants, the owners, and so because of their schedule, they get done at 10 o'clock at night. He has a Bible study in their restaurant at 11.
Right.
Now, I want to be in bed at 11.
Sure.
I got 3 kids, but he's being creative. He is working with their schedule. He is going the extra mile. At some point, they may decide that they're going to seek a different career so they can be involved in the work of God. But the truth is, we just have to be very flexible in our opinions, ask questions, make sure we're not mocking, or that we don't come off as we're mocking. And when I go to St. Louis and I get Bosnian food, they come out and they talk to me because they're like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm not Bosnian. Oh, wow, try this. I ask them, "What do you recommend?" I'll try. You got it. This is my grandma's recipe. Okay, I'm going to try that. How was it? It was good. They come to my table.
Sure.
If it's the Asian restaurants, they come to my table because I've made an effort. So make an effort, figure out what works for your community, and just be there for them. And it may not happen in 6 months. It may not happen in a year. It may take 5 years. It may take 10 years. But just be their friend. God will honor your effort. And those people will follow you if they feel loved. If they feel that you really do love them and there's no agenda, they will follow you. So that would be my advice. And that's just from experience. And really, that's not just minorities. That's anybody. If I reach to the majority,
Sure.
It's the same thing. You just got to show love and be transparent. That's really what it is.
I'm hearing some key things within your advice and your suggestions, and these are things that I often hear when I talk to pastors who have become successful in reaching across cultural barriers. I'm hearing be intentional. I'm hearing understand cultures and backgrounds and their histories. I'm hearing celebrate with them on the things they celebrate, enjoy their food. I'm hearing be intentional about providing places of leadership and inclusivity. And so these things are not difficult to do, are they?
Mm-mm.
They're very simple and straightforward. And I do recognize that for someone who's in leadership on some level, who may, from their worldview or their background, may have not ever encountered this type of ministry across cultural barriers, these things are not obvious. So for me, while I'm sitting here saying, yes, I'm hearing this all the time from men and people who lead in multicultural settings, I think it has such value to keep sharing from other perspectives and other voices, because these are the things that work, and these things are not difficult to do. These things are very simple, they're very straightforward, and they work in any culture. I love what you said, even in majority culture, because our churches are trying to reach our whole community.
The whole community.
Yet Multicultural Ministries, our focus is not to create silos of separate cultures and communities, but rather for that one church to be inclusive and to reach all the community, that all feel welcome and, as you said, wanted, and feel that there is a place for me to grow and plant my family. So I love the things that you've said. I'm very appreciative of your voice in this hour. Coming toward a close of our time today, I have 2 questions, and I'm going to say both questions first and then bring it back to the first question. But I want you to share your biggest celebrations about your experience in the UPCI. And then I'll bring you back to another question where I'll ask you to share your biggest concern, or we can phrase it this way, areas you think we can grow in.
Yes. So
first, in your experience growing up in the UPCI, Hispanic family, also a family in ministry, tell me about your experience and just share your biggest celebration about the UPCI.
Well, I am grateful to the United Pentecostal Church International. I've been in it most of my life. We did come out of another organization that was probably 98% Hispanic in the early 80s. And so I do have another perspective.
Sure.
So my dad felt like he wanted to join the UPCI because there were a lot of opportunities to reach more than just our culture.
Mm-hmm.
His vision as a young child, I remember him telling me, I was like 7, 8 years old, that he wanted to see a multicultural church. Our church at the time was all Hispanic.
That's powerful.
Now it was bilingual, it was all Hispanic.
Visionary.
And he told me as a kid, and so we're seeing it fulfilled through me. Mm-hmm. And he's experiencing it as well up in Milwaukee. But what I celebrate, what I think is phenomenal. I mean, we, as far as holiness, I'm grateful for our stance. The Lord's coming soon. As far as everything else that we do, missions, the vision, great. But the one thing I do appreciate most about the United Pentecostal Church is it is very diverse.
It is.
Now, we have a long way to go, but and I can say that because I'm part of it, but it's diverse. It is multicultural, and we're making an effort. We have got ministries in place making an effort. So when we joined in 1987, that was the UPCI Spanish ministry had not been very old. And so because my dad spoke Spanish, Brother Urshan got my dad involved in that immediately. Brother Jack Yonce was the home missions director at the time. And so Dad was involved in that, and as it was starting to grow, because the UPCI made an effort to reach Hispanic people.
Right.
They said, we want you to be part of us, and we're going to accommodate you. And so they have grown. Now we're 43 years old. And when I say we, the Spanish ministry is 43 years old, same age as me. And it has been, for the most part, the fastest growing segment of our movement.
Sure.
And so what I see multicultural ministries doing is continuing that, pushing that process, growing, saying we've got to build bridges to accommodate people that are coming into our country. We don't want them to go anywhere else. We want them to come to the truth, and we want them to come to our organization. So to me, that's phenomenal.
Right.
I want to be part of a multicultural organization. That has to be our vision. I wouldn't want to be part of a Hispanic-only organization. I want to reach everybody, and so that is our strength. And it seems that multicultural ministries is gaining prominence. If there is a challenge, and you asked me the question, what are some challenges? Basically, it's the question. I think that things that we can grow in would be, we definitely need to promote this. People need to understand the vision of the UPCI is not to have these little separate silos.
Right.
One silo, and we're drawing in from all these sub-silos to fill that one silo as we're growing together. These are bridges, these are streams that are flowing into the main body of water. So it needs to continue. That needs to be our vision, and that needs to be communicated much more. Now it is being communicated, and only those in leadership know how much it can be communicated. But as we grow, it will be communicated more. It needs to be. I preach it all the time. We're an international church. We're a church of all nations. We're like the Book of Revelation church. Every creed, every tongue. And so I think that is one of the challenges I see, especially during these times. But the good news is that these troubling times have opened up the opportunity for the conversation that you've been having. We are a diverse organization. Now, it doesn't mean that it's good enough. We've got to work until the Lord comes.
Absolutely.
We're Landmark Family Churches right now. We're happy to be there, but it's not good enough. Where the United Pentecostal Church is right now, I'm glad we're here. We're better than we were 40 years ago, but it's not good enough. So we've got to keep pushing forward, and we've got to communicate the vision.
And I don't think that's an indictment.
No.
When you say it's not good enough, the United Pentecostal Church this very year is celebrating 75 years.
Yeah.
And so what we're saying is we are ecstatic, and we're thankful for the progress that has been made, but we can't allow the made progress to put us into a false sense of security that we don't have work to do. The scripture talks about working while it is day.
Well, it is day.
And as long as we have time before the Lord returns, we've got to reach deeper into our communities and reach people, make our churches, to grow our churches, in every way, and that includes reaching the cultures that are there. And so I'm very thankful for this voice. So you would say your biggest concern is growing awareness?
I think growing awareness, like I said, and I'm glad you clarified it. I would hate for someone to think that I don't think it's good enough. The proper terminology is there's a lot of work to do. I think that's the best way to say it. We've come a long way. We still have a ways to go, and it's happened because of effort. So I would say that we need to continue to promote the message. We are a multicultural church. We're an international church. We're international throughout the world. We're international here in North America.
Mhm.
And in internet, however you want to word that, we've just got to let people know this is where we're going. This is who we are. And I'll tell you, in 2020, that is a very appealing message.
Mhm.
You know, in the corporate world, I get job offers all the time because I am bilingual.
Mhm.
They see an advantage of having people on staff that can communicate for the same price, right?
Right.
To more than one group of people. And so the corporate world recognizes the need for inclusion and diversity, but the church should lead the way. So I believe we're leading. That's why I'm part of the Multicultural Ministries. I love it. But yes, we just got to stay focused and just keep on moving forward. And in 5 and 10 years, if the Lord tarries, we will see major changes. But we have seen major changes in the last
Absolutely.
25, 30 years that I can remember. I mean, there's been, the United Pentecostal Church, it doesn't look like it did 20 years ago.
Mhm.
You know, our largest congregation is a Spanish-speaking congregation in Los Angeles. And,
Right.
and it wasn't like that 25 years ago.
Sure.
And so we've come a long way, and now we've got these other groups that are joining us because they're recent immigrants to the United States of America and to Canada. And so it is exciting. And so I'm glad that we are being proactive, because that's what you're doing. We're saying we're getting ready. We're saying we have this ministry because we're going to have this ministry. And so raise awareness, promote the idea, promote the message, communicate it as much as possible. These videos are going to help. People need to know. People may not know we have a Burmese ministry. They may not know we have, Amish
Right.
outreach. They may not know, and I know those are not the official terms or official names for the ministries, but there's just so many tools at our hand,
Right.
and more will be added. Because there
Sure.
are many more cultures. More will be added as time progresses. But to have, 57 ministries, or how many ministries do we have?
Multicultural Ministries currently has 21
Okay, 21
specific ministries.
specific.
Mhm.
But then within those, you have, like the Burmese have, I forget how many tribes and
Right.
language
They have
groups.
the Chin and the Karen. So
Yeah.
that particular culture, Burmese, in Myanmar, I think they have, it's more than 130, I think closer to 140 languages within that small country. So
And I
it's
know
very diverse.
And I know there's a number in St. Louis, and there's a number around the nation. So within even those specific groups, you have other groups. So we've come a long way. I'm excited about it. I want to be a part of it, and I want all the pastors and leaders to know that God will give you a harvest. You might have to learn another language, but God will give you a harvest. It's out there. It's time, and I think that if we'll keep working, we're going to see God do great things. But like you said, we've got a lot of work to do.
We do. And I echo the things that you've said here today. At Multicultural Ministries, we are truly focusing on reaching the cultures that have come to North America. The world has come to North America and made it their home. And as cultures come to North America, they're not necessarily becoming Americanized as may have happened in the distant past. People are holding on to their culture, and it takes generations to pass before their cultures become completely involved in the American culture. And so we have barriers right here in our own neighborhoods and communities to reaching people that have come because people have brought their language, they've brought their culture. And so as they approach our traditional style of church and our English language, there are things there that nobody wants to be an issue in terms of sharing the gospel. But we can address those things by being intentional. We can address those things by loving people. We can address those things, whether they be cultural, whether they be language, whether they be matters of social unrest, when we deal with things here in our own country, things that are a part of our own American history that are all inundating the news now. We approach it in this way, we can overcome, and every church in every community can make a great difference, because I've heard it said, and I would say this as well, the greatest gift that any city can have is a church.
Amen.
And the church, as you said before, we believe that the church is the answer. The church is the answer for the entire community. And so I thank God for this discussion. I thank God as we move forward sharing these perspectives. You know, I have guarded myself because I know that as we go forward, this is the second Multicultural Stories in the series that we've recorded now. I know as we go forward, as things are being shared, not everybody will agree, and that's fine. We can disagree on certain things and still remain brothers. We disagree respectfully. But there are perspectives that are going to be shared that not everybody understands or relates to. But what I'm simply promoting through this series, that these are our stories.
Mm-hmm.
This is the story of the United Pentecostal Church. We are different in culture. We are different many times in our backgrounds, and we are different in the cultural beliefs or the cultural things that have molded us and shaped us in our lives. But when we come into United Pentecostal Church, we are going into another culture. We are coming into a biblical culture that we would describe as an apostolic or oneness Pentecostal biblical culture. And as part of that, we cannot check our need to win the world at the door.
Right.
So we have to understand what's going on in our communities. We may have to educate ourselves better on how to deal with cultures and how to overcome and how to speak in times of social unrest. But these things are necessary to our mission and our mandate to reach our world and to involve our congregations in ministering to our community. But we can do this. And I'm praying that these perspectives will help and be a blessing. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us today, Pastor
Yes, sir.
Martinez.
Thank you.
And your words have been such a blessing. And so thank you all for watching. These are Multicultural Stories, and we pray that they will be of benefit to you. God bless you. It's still recording, but
I hope you can use some of that. I talked a
Oh,
little
great.
fast.
No, it's great.